Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Under Review, a brand new episode number 17. And as you can see, if you're watching on the YouTube, we have a guest, Clayton Davis. Clayton, how are we?
Yo, I'm doing good. I'm excited to be here. It's almost like I'm under review. I don't know, like in a court case or something like that. I'm being investigated by two of the homies. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, Clayton
I'm
is
really looking forward to
actually
it.
Clayton is a huge fan. He's always commenting on our stuff. We did live streams and we were answering some of his questions, so we only thought it was necessary to bring him on.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. Jeremy, on the other end, how are we?
The Knicks look like they're going back to their old ways, but and the Giants are probably going to be eliminated tomorrow. So I'm doing great.
Well, let's not say probably. Let's keep our fingers crossed because we don't know yet, but we will discuss the situation in just a little bit as we have a ton on board today. It starts with some NBA basketball. We'll get deeply into the New York Knicks, some Christmas Day games, and of course, we'll talk about some overall rookie performances. How has the draft panned out so far in the first couple games of the season? Some NFL, as Clayton is a huge Steelers fan, and he has a lot to say after their 11-0 start, then resulting in 3 straight losses. And then the debate that we will get into at the end. But let's start with the New York Knicks. The first game started pretty well for the New York Knicks, but however, ended the usual result. RJ Barrett was very, very good, scoring almost at will. But I'll swing things over to Jeremy really quickly. Jeremy, let's talk about this loss to the Indiana Pacers.
Everything's already just going the Knicks way because not the classic Knicks way, not like a positive swing. Because Emmanuel quickly was probably the most hyped up player coming out of preseason and then coming into the regular season, and then he gets hurt immediately in the first half.
Tough.
The offense was running really well with him in the first half. Knicks were up by 5 at halftime in that game. Then all of a sudden, Victor Oladipo and Domantas Sabonis went off. They couldn't stop them. Nerlens Noel and Mitchell Robinson had each 3 fouls in the first half. That was awful. Mitchell Robinson had 3 fouls in 6 minutes. RJ Barrett was great. That's definitely a highlight. 11 for 16, 26 points, 8 assists, 5 rebounds. Julius Randle, almost a triple-double. That was pretty nice to see. But the problem is, like it always has been with the Knicks, is they don't really have a point guard. Elfrid Payton was not good yesterday. Frank Ntilikina off the bench really didn't do much in the fourth quarter. So once quickly got hurt, they really didn't have somebody who was consistently running the offense, especially the offense well at all. And that resulted in a loss. Today, Obi Toppin, the 2 rookies, Toppin and Quickly, are probably out against the 76ers, which is weird. Obi Toppin, who is known for his high-flying dunks and his athletic ability, was shooting these high-arcing threes all game in the opener. He made a few of them, but it was just very strange. Meanwhile, both rookies are out today, so I'm going to assume Frank Ntilikina or Dennis Smith Jr. is going to get more time off the bench. Regardless, it's going to be another ugly loss for the Knicks today as they play the 76ers, and tomorrow because they play the Milwaukee Bucks.
Can I?
Yeah, no, go.
Okay, so what I was going to say with Jeremy is that like this team, you got to let them process like what is happening, right? It's a new head coach, Tom Thibodeau, and a lot of new players that are coming in. You got to let them form into a system and let them build some team chemistry before you can criticize them. Personally, that's what I think. Yeah, Obi Toppin shooting those high-arcing 3-pointers. It's like, what is going on there?
I was so confused.
But
It doesn't make sense.
Listen, you go step by step. This isn't a season-long process. This is a year-long process, right? So if you can, it'll be a while, right? And I think that with Tom Thibodeau and him being a defensive prowess, like definitely a defensive-minded head coach, defensive-oriented, I think once they get into their own, they'll be fine. I think that you just got to give them a little bit of time. They're playing the Indiana Pacers. The Indiana Pacers are a tough team. So just
Sixers and the Bucks.
Exactly. But if they can win, let's just say 35 to 40 games, right? That's like the goal, right? That's a win. That's a win of a season.
That's above 500.
but that's a little bit less. You could do it. It's possible. The East isn't that great, and I think the Knicks can pull it off.
I think
wish I had your confidence.
It's tough, but I somewhat agree with Clay. I think that this is a huge process, and realistically, the talent is coming. It's not like there's no talent on this roster. If you look at their starting 5 and what they have on the bench, this team can produce, and they will win some games this year. It will get a lot better, and Jeremy is in the process of showing us his RJ Barrett
Absolutely
jersey.
beautiful.
Barrett was very, very good, and I want to touch on what Jeremy touched on the Obi Toppin shooting. It doesn't make sense because he shot 7 3-pointers. Meanwhile, he missed 9 total shots. And yes, he is a flashy dunker, a slashing type of forward. And yet he was shooting, which doesn't make sense. It kind of looks like that should have been Kevin Knox, what his role was playing in that game, because Knox should be the guy shooting on the wing and this and that. And Knox only played 18 minutes. So with Obi Toppin potentially not playing tonight, Knox will get in. And this is, me and Jeremy have talked about this. Knox needs to prove himself this year if he wants to be in the New York Knicks uniform next year, rather than an NBA uniform next year, because his production is looking like he's going to be a bust, and he needs to produce at a much higher rate. And yeah, it's awkward because you talked about how they don't really have a true point guard when Quickly left the game. All the talk was the Knicks have too many guards coming into this season. So how tables have turned already after the first game.
Funny story. In terms of plus minus, there were 2 players who were plus minus the all game. Two who were positive in plus minus all game. Quickly, who only played 12 minutes, and Alec Burks. The journeyman Alec Burks was a +4 played 31 minutes off the bench. Do you maybe start him over Reggie Bullock tonight? Maybe. But however, Julius Randle was only a -5. He had 17 points, shot almost 50%, and had 9 rebounds, 9 assists. There was so much Randle slander for me in the offseason and previous season. If he could play like that and just distribute and take smart shots all game, I'm totally down for some more Julius Randle action.
I think the problem is with the Knicks, they don't have any shooters. There's no shooters.
They got some. Bullock is a shooter, and Alec.
I mean, I guess, but like, is he really going to be like the top guy for the team?
Yeah,
he's just a journeyman.
It seems like in the NBA now, you obviously just need guys
you gotta focus on the rookies. That's what guys
who are going to be able to just walk up to the perimeter or catch it to the perimeter all day.
RJ's my guy.
It's all about RJ. That's
and RJ's got a stroke. That's what you have to build around. I literally knew it as soon as this guy came out of the draft last year. I literally have his jersey as well. I wore it all day yesterday just because I wanted to wear a jersey. And he's the most important piece right now. You have to build around RJ because like Lislin last year, he may not have been what you expected.
He was good before the season shut down.
First game of the season. Sorry, what'd you say?
He was coming around before the season got shut down too. Mm-hmm. He had a great game against Houston.
He has all the talent in the world to succeed in the NBA, and the Knicks need to know that they need to build around him. He can shoot the ball. He can get through the lane on command, and he can pass the ball. And realistically, he rebounds the ball as well. He's a triple-double type of build-a player, and this is what the New York Knicks need to build around, and that's exactly direction they need to ascend in.
And I think that Obi Toppin and Emmanuel Quickly, like once they, get rid of their injuries and everything like that, they can be pieces that build up RJ Barrett. That's what can happen.
I think Quickly can be that point guard that finally saves the organization. And plus, Austin Rivers are still waiting for him to come back from injury.
That's true too.
Mm-hmm. And he's a guy who can run, who's just been a veteran off the bench guy for so long.
He's a hungry veteran. He wants to be in New York, and that's exactly what the Knicks need. People who want to play with them.
Yeah.
So
right.
Let's move forward. We got still plenty to talk about. Let's go move over to the Christmas Day games. And the Christmas Day games weren't as much as expected. They were a little bit boring, but we still are, of course, are going to talk about them. Let's start with the first game that was happening yesterday at 12 p.m. Eastern time, and that was the Pelicans taking on the Heat, and the reigning Eastern Conference champions went back to business, got their first win of the season, even up the record at 1-1. Let's talk about that game. I'll swing it to Clay first.
Duncan Robinson. Unbelievable. I mean, that's the whole point. You know what's funny about him? He actually did you guys know he went to Williams College?
Yeah,
you guys know
first he went to Williams College, and
that's who Ithaca beat in the playoffs.
Yeah, we both covered that. We both covered their women's
team. Didn't we lose to them?
We did lose to them.
We lost them in the 32. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, they beat Ithaca. Yeah.
Ethan and I did the pre and post game for that. That was really fun.
And what's funny about him also, I know we're talking about the game, but with him, he was actually supposed to be, he messaged a guy on Twitter or something about like him wanted to be like a sports analyst. And then he eventually was able to wean his way to Michigan and then get to the NBA.
He's got a crazy story.
Did he made 6 3-pointers in the first half?
Yeah, that was a record. And then he just needed one more in like a quarter and a half, and he
didn't play that well.
Yeah,
it didn't really matter because they blew him out. But just he was so dominant, and it's so great to see that finally we don't have a team that is so centered around like this big three this big three method.
They're a fun team to watch.
They're a fun team to watch. It's all these different guys, and Avery Bradley. Like it's just a lot of fun to have. It's a fun team.
If the Pelicans didn't have such a bad second quarter, they would probably be very much so in the game. Zion Williamson was great. You can't stop him on the way to the basket.
You really can't.
Zion, man, he is living up to expectation right now. As long as he can keep himself on the court and be healthy, this guy is going to be absolutely filthy this year and years to come.
And who also is very filthy is Brandon Ingram. He's played great.
Sometimes
that's a nasty little duo they got cooking.
He gets a little too jump shot happy sometimes, Ingram, but he's a good player.
Yeah, he really is.
He can slash to the rim too. He's got both those.
I was
styles.
excited to watch Tyler Hero play yesterday. He did not do good.
He was
shooting very lackluster yesterday, and he's one of my favorite guys on the team, and he's fun to watch because he usually can get to the basket whenever he wants. He's got a great jump shot. But the highlight that I absolutely love about this team, when you look at the Miami Heat and you think of who their best player is, because you probably have to pick someone to be their best player, most likely you're looking at Jimmy Butler to be that guy. And the fact that he only scored 4 points yesterday and this team still won by that much of a margin is so impressive for me. Impressive for me because that just shows not the best player on the team. If he doesn't do well, this team can still succeed. That happened in the playoffs where he didn't have a great game and this team still won. And even when he did good, it was just wow, like this team right now.
It's because Butler got hurt. That's why.
Oh, I completely forgot he left the game in like the second quarter.
Mm-hmm. He did.
Oh, wow. Well, they still played without him.
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't matter. And also, like, even with these young guys, you got Iguodala too. He can step up as well.
Yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy how many great role players that they have. And that's what the Knicks need, is they need role players that can actually play instead of Reggie Bullock and Frank Ntilikina. Like, yeah, you know what I mean? So
it's like that
it's really fun to watch.
Oh, I have some breaking news. Daniel Jones is going to start tomorrow against Baltimore.
Yes. That's awesome. That's cool. I mean, as long as he's healthy, that's all I want. I don't want him not being able to move out of the pocket.
Yeah.
You guys think he can win?
That happens.
No. I mean, we'll talk about it later, but like,
we'll talk about it later.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to game number 2, and that was the Warriors taking on the Bucks, and the Warriors' struggles continue.
Oh my God.
You got to feel for Steph Curry after this one. This was a assault, 138
Curry
to 99.
Curry hasn't played very well either himself.
He really hasn't. 2 for 10 from 3. I mean, Curry, what's going on?
I mean, this is the question I'm going to ask you guys. You know how like everybody says that like Harden is not an elite player. He's not on like LeBron and
he's criticized for that.
Yeah, he's criticized for that. Do you think it's the same situation where Steph Curry is not at that caliber either? And it's just that he's got Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and Kevin Durant when he was there and DeMarcus Cousins. Is that the reason why? Like,
I don't think.
No,
I think Curry has his respect because Curry's been there. He has a bunch of rings. He's been the MVP, I believe, in the finals. He's been that guy for so long that finally now he's kind of just dealing with a little stunt right now with this team.
You think so?
With players he's never played before in his life. This whole starting lineup he's never played with before.
It's crazy. Curry's been 2 for 10 from 3 in both of the games he's played, so he's 4 for 20 to start off.
Garbage.
Wiseman did shoot 3 for 4, but then you have Wiggins from 3, 0 for 4. Pascal 0 for 3.
Wiggins
0 for 5.
Abysmal.
Jordan Poole 1 for 6. Mulder 1 for 4. Marcus Chris 0 for 2. This team doesn't shoot. They can't shoot.
That's just a different team that Steph Curry's ever played on. He's always played on guys where he can lean on a little bit more. Like if he doesn't have the 3, he'll give it off to Klay Thompson, and Klay Thompson's on the other wing for 3. It's a different story, and I think Curry will get used to it because, listen, at the end of the day, he's going to go down as not only the best shooters to ever do it, but he's going to be probably a top 20 player to ever play this game, in my opinion, right now. And he could keep up moving on the leaderboards. I think he'll adapt, and it'll take some time. He's played against some very good East teams to start, and it'll get easier for him.
I think the days are over when Steph Curry was shooting ridiculously for 50 feet out.
He's going to have to play a different game.
The NBA has caught up to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody can shoot now. Every team can shoot.
He changed the game for everybody else, and now he's just got to catch up.
You can't innovate anymore. They can't innovate even with just him there.
Unless he starts shooting from like the other free throw line, like 75-foot shots.
Oh my God. Imagine that. He's shooting full court shots. and then it's like, oh, you got to play full court defense now.
That would be the day, right?
That would be crazy.
So let's talk about the Bucks because we could talk a bunch about the Warriors, but the Bucks got their first win of the season and they're in quest for an Eastern Conference championship because Giannis, even after winning the most valuable player for the second time last year, he was very upset. He's hungry. He signed the max contract. He wants to be a Buck. He played good. He played okay.
It's the same old, right?
Mm-hmm. Same old. But they got the job done.
Shooting great from 3.
Chris Middleton was unbelievable. 31 points, shot 6 for 8 from 3. but Giannis collected the double-double. You just got they just did their job. At the end of the day, they were better than the Warriors, and they did their job.
I mean, that's the same thing. And then, you add Drew Holiday, right? And he's very good, but can he change the team? How they already are? I mean, they're already.
I think he's better than
top
Bledsoe.
3 in the East.
Look how Bledsoe looked yesterday against New Orleans. Against Miami, he was brutal.
Brutal.
Yeah,
1 for 9. Yeah.
So these games are moving quick. These discussions are moving quick because these games were honestly not great yesterday.
I mean, how much did they win by? Almost 40? Did they win by 38 points?
Crazy because
39.
The Warriors were keeping it within 10 throughout most of the first half. They couldn't win either game.
The second half, they just couldn't keep up.
Yeah, you got it on the money.
True.
Right
So let's move on. We got Nets taking on Brooklyn, and this realistically could be a matchup that's going to be so much fun to watch all year round because these are the two teams that are just going to dog it out every time they play each other. And Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving were too much to handle. Too much to handle. And I know, listen, towards the season goes on, Kemba Walker will coming back and it'll even up the matchup a little bit. But they got dominated. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are going to be a problem.
My 2 least favorite teams in the league going at it yesterday. And
I mean, the idea is that even without Durant and Kyrie, they're still a good team. Remember, they were the 7th
last year. They were solid last year.
Yeah, they weren't bad.
Karis LeVert is nasty, and now he's just nasty. Being a role player, which is incredible because he's already a really good player.
Jared Allen's pretty good. Joe Harris can shoot. Spencer Dinwiddie's
phenomenal.
Spencer Dinwiddie's back from his injuries.
These guys are all-star caliber players. This roster is very, very good.
Very, very good.
And the scariest part, Jeremy, I'll swing this to you. Let's talk about Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant looks like he had no Achilles injury. Achilles injuries take players out of their careers. Players don't come back from Achilles injuries. Kevin Durant acts like he hasn't been phased.
Yeah, I'll admit so far I'm wrong. I thought he wouldn't be the same guy. But I think also part of it is, and you have to give credit to him, he really took the time in recovering from the injury. He potentially could have played in the playoffs in the bubble last year, but he's
Smart.
all right, let me just take this time off, make sure I'm completely ready for 2020, 2021. And I think it's paid off so far. They look very scary. There's really no weak spots on that team right now. And I really think the only team that could potentially beat them right now are the Clippers or the Lakers.
It seems as if it really does. Clay, what do you think?
I think the Bucks could too. The Bucks could
I agree
too.
with Jeremy. I don't know about that, but I think they'll be the top. I think they'll be the top team.
Yeah,
I think
it seems
the only team that can compete with them in the Atlantic Division is probably the Celtics.
The Knicks.
But that's
I was kidding.
I was about to say the Knicks.
The Knicks, yeah. No, Toronto Raptors.
Watch
Pascal Siakam, man.
I guarantee you the Knicks will have one game against the Nets where they might not necessarily win, but it's going to be really unnecessarily close.
Honestly, I kind of agree with that. That's been happening in years past.
The Knicks would do stuff like that.
There was a game a couple of years ago where the Knicks somehow beat them, the Bucks. And they beat the Lakers twice the year before. It was the Knicks always have these games that, and last year they almost beat the Clippers in LA. They have these games.
Yeah, I remember that. Mm-hmm.
It's unnecessarily close games happen with the Knicks all the time. Yeah,
absolutely. The Knicks would always do some stuff like that just to break your heart in the fourth quarter.
Oh, always.
I mean, I think that's just it's a New York sport theme.
I think just 1 point, I guess with the Celtics, I'm a Celtics fan, but I don't know. It's just I don't know. Tatum's good, Brown's good, but I
think they're going to be good. I think they're a little underrated because they got guys who can play like Marcus Smart, and I know Jeff Teague is a little washed up in this league, but he can still play basketball.
They just don't
Tice
have
is not that bad.
They don't
this
have
team.
That
I think they're going to be.
though, Ethan. They just don't have it. They don't have that centerpiece. That's the problem. They don't have that.
They should be able to get it, though, with Jaylen Brown and Tatum. They should be able to get it, and they should have success. They should be a top 3 team in the East at the end of the year. They should.
I went on for our friend Noah Schwartz's podcast, his personal podcast on Belly Up Sports yesterday, and he was telling me he really is not high in the Celtics at all because he thinks they have no bench.
I actually listened to that. I listened to that segment.
True. Yeah,
I think he posted on Instagram. I was listening. I just think that they're a little bit more rounded than people think. They have role players that can play.
I think they have a good bench. I think Jeff Teague played well. I really like him personally.
Yeah, and they'll get Kemba Walker back, and then it'll move Jeff Teague down a little bit. This team isn't completely.
I like Brad Stevens for that team too. He'll make it work.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really at the point where
sign Tristan Thompson too.
Yeah, I don't know. They should have got Miles Turner. They almost got him for Gordon Hayward. And the thing is, right? yeah, like you'll win, like you'll do well in the East. You can maybe like make it to the Eastern Conference, but it's really at this point, you have all your pieces there. It's championship or bust.
It really is. You're right.
It really is.
And yeah, you're right. Because Tatum is emerging right now into one of the game's best, and you need to win with him at this point.
Have they extended him yet?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, I think it's a 5-year.
Yeah, you got a massive max.
Yeah, massive deal.
And then listen, they have like one of the league's best players coming off the bench too, Taco Fall. It's all coming together.
Why not play him? Why not give him a shot?
Why they don't play him? He's the biggest guy. He'll just stand under the rack. I know his defense is atrocious.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's just that like, actually, I kind of disagree on that. I think it's just if like they need stamina like a stop. It's stamina issues. It's like weird. It's like basically having a meme on a team.
He's literally too big. He's like to a point. He's a little too big.
It's kind of like I mean, you guys might disagree with this, but it's kind of like having Vince Carter. It's like Vince Carter used to be like really good and like
nowadays Vince Carter.
Yeah, nowadays Vince Carter.
Yeah, but it's like a meme. Like I don't know.
Of course. So let's continue the movement onto the second to last game of the year. I mean, not of the year. Not even close to the year. Of the day of Christmas Day, and it was the Los Angeles Lakers versus the Dallas Mavericks. The highlight of this game was Luka Doncic versus LeBron James because of all the rumors. Luka Doncic has just been so good. LeBron even asked him to sign a shoe deal with Team LeBron, the first ever member. Obviously, these guys have very mutual respect for each other. In my opinion, Luka will eventually be recognized as one of the best players in the league, if not right now he is. But the Lakers won by storm, 138-115. It seems like the Lakers kind of just dominated this game throughout. So if you guys want to jump into the conversation.
I mean, there's really nothing to say. I mean, it's just that like there's really nothing to say. I guess LeBron like and AD. I mean, I guess like you could say like the new additions are pretty good. You know,
Dennis Schroeder was very good taking the ball up. I like him taking the ball up. It takes the pressure off LeBron having to take the ball up.
I think it's definitely an improvement over Rondo.
Oh, I mean, yeah, 100%. Also, Montrezl Harrell, not only has his defense really well, he put up 22 points off the bench.
He's a beast underneath.
He really is. Yeah. Kuzma played a little bit better than I thought. He had 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 assists. He also shot 3 for 4 from 3. And him being able to shoot on the wing is very important for this team because he's going to get a lot of those opportunities when guys like LeBron and AD are driving into the paint and getting all the attention in the paint. He's going to be open on the wing, and he needs to be able to shoot the ball a lot more consistently than he did in the bubble because his shooting performance wasn't.
We take it to save time. I'm going to combine this with the Clippers-Nuggets game because that was also just
go ahead.
Clippers all day.
Of course.
I think the Clippers are going to be the better team than the Lakers this year. I said it last year, but I'm going to stick by it this season. I think they have a lot more to play for. But if you're the Los Angeles Clippers, you went into last year super confident that you were going to be the LA's team, and you fell short. You were embarrassed by Denver. And now you have rejuvenated Paul George. Kawhi is still Kawhi. I like the Nicholas Batum signing.
Yeah, Nicholas Batum was a good signing.
Serge Ibaka, who's a good veteran to have on that team.
Yeah, he's good too.
I think Ivica Zubac is a very underrated center. And I think they just have the guys. And I think Reggie Jackson will return to form. There's so many guys on that team I think can take that next step. And personally, I think Paul George and Kawhi will be big-time all-stars. I like them for number 1 in the West this year.
Oh wow. Okay. See, I don't know. I don't know about that, but
I don't know.
You could disagree. That's fine.
Yeah. I think I disagree because listen. At the end of the day, even if they get the number 1 seed, which they might, because LeBron in the regular season, he just as long as he gets to the playoffs, that's all that matters for him. But so I'm not gonna disagree about that. But I don't think that they're the best team in the West. I think personally that they have guys in this team that don't show up in the playoffs. Paul George is a great, well-respected player, one of the best in the league, but he just doesn't show up in the playoffs. He has games where he is atrocious. How can you rely on that? It's just inconsistency. And the only one thing that keeps me believing in this team is Kawhi Leonard because he's done this twice.
Paul George has looked very good so far this season.
It just scares me because he's looked good in the regular season plenty of times, but as soon as he gets into the playoffs, he's been atrocious. And there's no signs of me showing that
Paul George
will ever change right now.
8 for 14, 5 for 9 from 3, plus 14, 9 assists, 5 rebounds. Did have 6 turnovers, but limited his foul count to 1. Played 36
Listen,
minutes.
If he can do that in a playoff game, they'd win playoff games. They wouldn't blow 3-1 series.
Here's my point, though, Ethan. I think being in the bubble last year, it had an emotional toll on everybody in different ways.
I promise you, I'm almost gonna guarantee you that if there was home playoff games with home crowds. The Milwaukee Bucks make the finals.
And the Clippers make the finals.
Yeah, I would say the Clippers too.
And I think that like also the distraction of like Lou Williams going to a strip club and eating chicken wings as well. Like that's like, you know what I mean? Like
it's so weird.
Obviously that's going to affect you in a different way.
I'm not saying everything should count, obviously, but it was very distorted, and everybody was pretty much playing under the same playing field because everybody was in the. It was a crazy time, especially with the civil unrest that was going on as well.
It really was.
I think Paul George had a baby. I think he had a baby. I think too. He was getting married. I remember he was engaged to his wife. I think it's just like he was in the wrong headspace there. But I do think
he'll be fine. He's a great player.
Yeah, I think Paul George.
Don't get me wrong. I think he's a great player as well. It just concerns me his playoff past. So let's move on. We've had a decent talk. Before we move into the NFL, let's talk about some of the rookies. We'll talk specifically about the first 3 picks. Let's start with Lonzo Ball. Lonzo Ball's first NBA debut. He shot over 5. Excuse me. What did I say, Lonzo?
Yeah, Lonzo. Lonzo's pretty good.
LaMelo Ball. Anyway, he shot 0 for 5, 0 points. Was not very good shooting, and we expected him to be able to shoot the basketball. Only had a rebound and 3 assists in 16 minutes of playing.
It's one game.
I know.
It's one game.
I know.
Jeremy does not like him, and I think he'll be good.
Prepare yourselves. This is going to be an everyday thing.
No,
he's not good.
It's not the end of the day. It really isn't the end of the day for Ball.
It's not.
It was his first lick of NBA action.
It's the beginning of it. I'm telling you right now, this guy he's in his own head.
What is he in his own head about?
Yeah, what?
He's not gonna succeed in this league.
I don't know. I like Charlotte a lot. I think Gordon Hayward, he didn't do that great with Boston, but Terry Rozier, it's not bad.
Listen,
good.
It took Lonzo Ball is finally becoming a real productive guard in the league right now, Lonzo, and it took him 2 or 3 years, and I think if you give this guy 2 or 3 years in the NBA, I think he'll be better than Lonzo Ball. I really do. He can shoot. I'm telling you, his jump shot is a lot better than what you think. There's a lot of pressure being in your first NBA game. He'll get it going, and once he gets the stroke going, he could catch and shoot very well. I don't know about pull-ups, but we saw the passes he made in the preseason. He's got very good vision across the court. Mm-hmm. And his finishing is even better. Clay, go.
The best, this is just a joke, but the basketball brother is LiAngelo. Signing with the Detroit Pistons for 2 days. He's already amazing.
This family's incredible.
Yeah.
I already know I was there.
So, we know that Jeremy doesn't like Ball. I have trust in Ball. I think that I wanted him to go to the Knicks very badly. Jeremy,
I would have.
I did too. Ethan, we're on the same page.
I would have just swithed teams, honestly. I've been done.
But here's the thing, right? If you have Ball, right? Well, Obi Toppin's pretty fun, and he's a New York guy. But if they didn't have him, I think LaMelo would be the next guy, right? It's New York. You're playing big. It's the biggest city in the world. It's the greatest city in the world, right? You want the star power of the Ball. You want him.
You do. Go ahead, Jeremy.
My favorite rookie that was out of this draft, James Wiseman. I'm kind of disappointed.
Let's talk about him.
Yeah, so I was expecting him, and it was probably a false expectation because I wanted him to be the guy who's going to bring back the monster inside the paint. I love the people who sit block to block inside and just try to get a bunch of rebounds and get a bunch of lay-ins.
Amari Stoudemire.
Wiseman shooting 4 threes. You are a monster inside. And you're playing a Milwaukee Bucks team with Brook Lopez, who likes to stand outside the paint. So I was really disappointed that he was playing behind the perimeter, and he did make 3 of those 4 threes. But I want him to be a ferocious Kenneth Faried.
He will be.
I think the problem is with James Wiseman. I think it's even harder for him to transition from college to the NBA because he had that, he had a suspension for so long and
Mitchell Robinson didn't play in college, remember, and he decided to take that year off to train, but he literally plays block to block. He doesn't shoot.
But listen, we don't know because Wiseman might be able to guy. Maybe he's always shot his whole career. You don't know. Unless you've done some serious research on him. I know I haven't. But listen, the way he's been playing has been good, and it'll improve because they'll get guys like Draymond Green back.
Yeah,
and Kelly Oubre will become more familiar at home. Steph Curry will hopefully become a little bit more familiar with these new guys. This Warriors team will get better week by week at the NBA season, and they'll be at its best the last week of the season, unless, of course, injuries. It'll take some time, but I really like what I saw.
I think
really
the problem.
he was very productive. You heard his name, and that's all you can ask for.
I think the problem is that Steve Kerr is more shooter oriented, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're going to have him take more threes, and they're not going to utilize him in the paint.
If he's comfortable doing it, though, why not? Because he did shoot 3 for 4 in his first game.
But you have other shooters on the team. Do you necessarily need him?
No, you're right. You're right. But it's where other role players will be playing. And yes, the Warriors looked as if they were lacking a center for the past couple years, ever since JaVale McGee left, and before he was there. So now you got your guy, young stud who can be there for 15 years if you play your cards right. It's just how are you going to use him? And I'm fine with how he played in the first 2 games.
No, definitely.
It's interesting to see how he'll evolve.
He's still my pick for rookie of the year.
Same here. Yeah, I agree.
Agreed. So we finally agree on something, hopefully. Which is actually
You're all good people. You can figure it out.
Yeah, we're fine. We're good. We're vibing. It's all good.
All right. Lastly, unless there's anyone else wants to talk about, we'll go to Anthony Edwards, who's the first overall pick with the Minnesota Timberwolves.
I'll get my piece out and then I'll get out of your hair for this one. And the Timberwolves are a severely underrated team. I think they're going to win more games than people think, and they're going to compete for that eighth seed. Excuse me.
Write it down.
Karl-Anthony Towns, D'Angelo Russell, really good combo. They started Ricky Rubio over D'Angelo Russell and then brought Russell off the bench, and it worked. Cat's motivated the season. He experienced more tragedy than we can imagine.
Yeah, I know. Really so terrible.
I'm really rooting for the guy this season. I hope he goes off.
Yeah, I know. Can you believe that? I mean, I don't know too much.
He lost 7 members of his family.
Did you guys hear what he said? And he said that basically that his soul was ripped out of him, ripped out of his body.
How could it not be?
It's the worst.
How could it not be?
It's terrible. So yeah. He's gonna play really hard this season. I think that he's gonna be motivated more than ever. He's playing for his family. He's playing for his mom, and I think he'll get the job done. I don't know how far they'll go, but I think they'll be a playoff team. I think they'll be a 7 or an 8. But don't be surprised if they upset somebody like the Clippers or the Nuggets or the Lakers. Don't be surprised. I really like this
team. I really like this team, and I'll tell you why. They have a bunch of role players that can shoot the ball. Look at Koji. I can't pronounce his name. He's a phenomenal shooter. Mm-hmm. I know he only shot 1 for 4 from 3 in the first game, but he's a very solid shooter. Culver, also a good shooter off the bench. He played definitely 21 minutes and only shot 1 3 for some reason. But he was a guy even last year who shot the ball very well on the perimeter. Those 2 guys you can work with very well. Obviously, you said you mix around with Rubio and Russell. Those guys are so good. Hernan Gomez, this team is solid.
Yeah, Hernan Gomez he's very underrated. He was really good on Charlotte. Yeah.
Solid.
No, Juancho Hernan Gomez played for Denver beforehand. And then there's Billy Hernan Gomez who played for the Knicks and then was traded to Charlotte.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. So he never played for Charlotte?
Yeah. So there's Billy Hernan Gomez who played for the Knicks and the Hornets, and I think he's still on the Hornets. And then there's Juancho Hernan Gomez.
I didn't know there was 2. I thought there was only one.
He was supposed to be him and Porzingis were supposed to be like the next power forward center combo on the Knicks.
True. Oh yeah, I remember that. Yeah, them talking about that.
And then Juancho Hernan Gomez is the shooter, and he's on Denver and Minnesota.
One last thing for Dallas, that I just want to mention, they're not Porzingis is not going to be the same, right? He's just
that's okay.
He's just not. I
don't know. Do I miss Porzingis on the Knicks a little bit? But terribly no, because of these injuries. They happened before the ACL. He's going to be out for a few games, like a game a week because of the knee.
Yep.
However, I'm upset that the Knicks didn't look for a better trade partner because they could have gotten so much more than Dennis Smith Jr. and 2 players who they weren't going to have at the end of the year.
Yep.
So, and they lost Tim Hardaway Jr. He was good.
I liked him.
I loved him a lot. He was good for the
team. He was a great player.
I have his jersey from his rookie year because he was my favorite player back in the day.
Great player.
Overrated.
His father was really good.
His father was very good.
Yeah, Golden State.
Father was very good.
Mm-hmm.
So let's move on. Let's get off the NBA talk. That was very, very fun. Let's move on to even a more fun segment, and that's the NFL segment. And we'll start off with Clay, because Clay is, a little background, a ginormous Steelers fan. If you look at his Twitter, he is all over every single game.
Snapchat.
Every single week.
It's crazy.
Social media.
Every week.
This guy is rant central about the Steelers for a specific reason. This team started 11-0 with, you can say, a cupcake schedule, and now they have lost 3 straight. They're the first team in NFL history to just do that. Incredible stat right there.
And we'll probably lose the next 2.
Might lose the next 2, but the question is, they're already in the playoffs. So at the end of the day, they're Doesn't matter if they don't win the division. They're playing in the playoffs.
That's a win, right? That's a win right there. They haven't made the playoffs in like 3 years.
That's already a win. And listen, Mike Tomlin, he's been there. He's been to the playoffs. This is his time to shine. But is this team a one and done in the playoffs? And Clay, I want to start with you.
Yes, they are 100% a one and done, right? They have it's maddening, right? It's becoming like they were so focused. We've seen year after year, the problems with Antonio Brown and the problems with Le'Veon Bell. And then you got this guy, Juju Smith-Schuster, and he's doing the Corvette dance on TikTok or whatever. He's doing all this gaming stuff. It's like, focus on football, man.
It doesn't make sense.
I don't think it's his fault.
Tomlin doesn't care. He has no control over this team.
He loses the locker room.
He loses the locker room every year.
Week 12.
By week 12, every year, because they get cocky every year. Avery Williamson on Twitter. Oh, the Steelers we're going to dominate this game against the Cincinnati Bengals. Same with Stephon Tuitt. Why are you talking before the game even starts? Why do you do that? Why do you do that? And it's insanity to me. The same thing goes for Randy Fitcher. He needs to get fired. They have no plan besides doing these little slant plays, these little quick pass plays, and they can't throw the ball deep.
Comebackers, yeah.
Because they played at Big Ben, and it's finally caught up to them that they know what the Steelers are going to do. They know it's going to be a hitch route on the outside to Claypool or to Johnson or to James Washington. It doesn't matter who it is. They know what's going to happen. They know they can't run the ball, and they know that Benny Snell can't do it because James Conner's been out, and it's just a mess. It's a mess.
Clay, I have a question for you about the Steelers.
What's up, man?
So obviously you had the first 7 weeks of the season, they looked like they were on top of the league.
Right.
Number one power rankings. Yeah, they've had an easy schedule, but they did beat teams like Baltimore and Tennessee.
I mean, I guess, yeah.
With Lamar Jackson. So.
But I think the thing is with that and that argument, you can look on it on the flip side, right? Why can't these teams beat us? Why can't they beat us?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I agree.
Why can't the Cowboys beat the Steelers?
They
Why can't the
almost
Eagles?
did with Garrett Gilbert, yeah.
Why couldn't the Giants week 1?
I agree.
It's at MetLife. Listen,
you know.
Honestly, I think if the Giants played them now, they'd have a much better shot.
I think they would.
Of course.
But what happened from that? Like, I think Ben looks good at the beginning of the year, but I think his arm looks shot, and he's moving even less than he already does.
It's been a long season.
He's got to retire.
I think the reason. Yeah,
he's looking washed up.
I think the reason is that I don't know. This might be the case. I think just everything that was happening with COVID and then rescheduling all these games and then
I agree. That
might have messed them up. That might have messed them up. I don't know.
I don't think that's a good sole argument though, because you're still if you're 11-0, you're not going to let just a couple weeks of COVID mishaps make you a bad football team, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. It can mess up your process and everything like that. Mike Tomlin's a very process-oriented quarterback or very process-oriented coach. Yeah,
I don't completely shade away from that because that can be exactly what happened. I said 3 games in 21 days. That doesn't make sense. I think it was 3 games in 17 days this team played.
It's rough.
Very tight schedule.
And the thing is also you didn't have the COVID list as well. James Conner was out because of COVID, and same was Marquise Pouncey was out.
Bud Dupree is out for the season.
Exactly. That's what I was about to say.
Been out for the season. This team took
the linebackers are tough. It's tough there.
They've taken losses. And if you look at teams who have overpowered high defenses, who have won championships with okay offenses, because I would consider the Steelers offense okay right now.
That's Denver. That's the Denver Broncos of 2015.
The New York Giants in 2012.
Yep. Agreed.
It's similar to that stuff. And I don't think this defense right now without Bush and Dupree, that they're up to that level of Denver Broncos, New York Giants defense.
They play the Colts. They play the Colts at home, and then they play, or they are at, I don't know. They play the Colts, and then they play the Browns, right?
The Browns would probably win the division.
The Browns can win the division that last day.
I think they can. I really.
They play the Jets next week.
Listen, I'm an optimistic guy with my teams and stuff, but this is just at this point, it's just week after week, it's disappointment. So why not expect it for the next week afterwards?
Speaking of,
I don't blame you. Me and Jeremy are Giants fans.
Yeah,
we watch almost the same thing every single week.
Oh my god, yeah.
I was gonna say, speaking of optimism, I do want to transition to the Giants. I know
we all
have a lot to say. Ethan, I'll let you give your entire piece uninterrupted, and then we're gonna go Clay, and then we'll go me.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So just the preview for the Giants game.
What are your thoughts in the next?
Who are they playing this week?
Baltimore.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So let's go 3 uninterrupted segments about our thoughts of the Giants and their playoff hopes and everything regarding that. Ethan, you start.
All right. So thank you, Jeremy, for giving me the platform first, of course. And I am not optimistic. I will sit at the edge of my bed and watch these games as if it was Game 7 of the World Series for the New York Mets, but I am not confident. I know they're getting Garrett back. Jones now, as Jeremy announced before, is playing this week. It's going to take a lot to beat this Ravens team. This Ravens team is hot right now. Lamar Jackson, when in momentum, is one of the scariest quarterbacks in the league to face. And the Giants struggled against Kyler Murray in that offense. And I'm telling you something, this offense obviously they don't have a star like DeAndre Hopkins, but this offense is very, very good as well. Lamar is able to move so much better. And the Giants honestly had a little bit of trouble containing Kyler Murray. And Lamar will just do a lot of that, a lot more. So I'm a little bit nervous for that side of the football. The Giants are just going to need to be able to perform defensively. If they're able to do exactly what they did against Seattle and hold this offense to 10 points, I would hope they would win this football game. I really would hope. But the fact that they didn't score a touchdown last week, 3 red zone trips, and they left 2 field goals, or just 1 field goal. They kicked a field goal toward the end of the game. We can't have any of this garbage, fake field goals. If you're going to go for it on 4th down in the red zone, just go for it. Put your quarterback under center, put 3 wide receivers out, a couple tight ends and a running back, and run a play. I don't know what that garbage was that really ticked me off, because that was the opening drive. They are criticized so heavily about special teams, and the opening kickoff is taken halfway down the field, and they're walk away with 0 points. Walk away with 0 points. That's unbelievable. That made me angry. I don't expect the Giants to win this week, but if we'll talk about some key points, and if they execute those points, such as no turnovers, holding this team to under 17 and a half points.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. That is a lot. I'm trying to think of a solid number.
Let's
say 13 points. They hold this team under 13 points. They can win this game. Other than that, I don't see their offense keeping up. Their offense just isn't there yet. It really isn't. It's going to take some offseason work to get to the offense that we really want. Daniel Jones may be that guy, but he needs some help in the offseason. He's going to need another receiver. He's going to need a little bit help up front. And I just don't think they're there yet to win this game. I really hope they will. And if their defense executes and gives up only 13 points, I think they can win, but I'll swing it over.
Right,
I think the thing is, I think if you can get I think their defense is pretty good. I think their D-line they still have Dexter Lawrence. They still have him? Yeah, Dexter Lawrence is great. Is he a Pro Bowler?
No,
he's not. But you know who is?
Ingram.
Evan Ingram.
Evan Ingram.
My boy. But anyways, if they can contain Lamar Jackson, I think they have a shot. I think if you get Jabril Peppers to be a QB spy on Lamar Jackson,
seems like their
I think
best
they
plan.
could be fine. I think they're not going to pass the ball that much. I think it's going to be tough, and I think it's probably going to be really cold. It's going to be tough weather. I think definitely for sure. But it's tough. To Ethan's point about them getting all those drives and not getting anything on 4th down or anything like that. I think it's really great, because it shows that Joe Judge, he's no nonsense. He wants to score.
That's what Chris Collinsworth said. Yeah.
He's no nonsense. He wants to go for it. There's the passion there. I think it's just that Daniel Jones just doesn't have any pieces around him. Golden Tate, he's all right. Darius Slayton,
he's out. Golden Tate's out tomorrow.
Oh, he's out tomorrow. Okay, so Darius Slayton,
he'll get there.
It's just he'll get there.
It's okay.
I think
Needs help.
I think it's just if they maybe run the ball, I don't really know. I don't know what their offensive I don't know. There's just nothing. You get Wayne Gallman to run to the outside. I don't know. That's how you win. They can't score. They can't score, so I don't know.
They're playing a good defense too. It's tough.
I have my presentation ready for.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay,
so
Jeremy,
get your popcorn.
This is what the Giants. I did the math. And I confirmed it on Twitter. Scenario for how the Giants can make the playoffs. So they can win. If they win this week, then they would need to win next week and hope Washington loses one of their next 2 games.
They play Dallas.
They play Dallas next week.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
If they lose, they can still get in. They would need a Washington loss against Carolina. They would need Dallas to beat Philly. And then next week they need to win, and they need to hope Philadelphia beats Washington. Crazy stuff. However, in terms of this Baltimore game coming up, I think you do get Darnay Holmes back with a knee. It's questionable. Bradbury will be back officially.
Yeah,
I'll give my Bradbury jersey another chance to hopefully it works. Daniel Jones coming back worries me again. just like it did against Arizona, because again, we reiterated this on the show so many times. When Daniel Jones cannot run and do a read option effectively, his throws become so much more predictable, and the pressure on him becomes more immense because he can't move out of the pocket as effectively, and he's not a good quarterback in that sense, and I'm worried about that a ton. Second of all, the defense needs to be better than they were against Cleveland. I mean, while the offense was brutal, the Cleveland was put together 2 95-yard drives. You can't let that happen. I don't care how long you've been on the field for. That's something you got to stop. Limit it to a field goal at least. 2 95-yard touchdowns? No, that can't happen. Third of all, Evan Ingram's a Pro Bowler. I have no idea how that happened. That's my presentation.
Yeah, go ahead, Ethan. Yeah.
Okay, so if I could just respond. First, you said, I think Daniel Jones. I don't think he is a terrible quarterback.
He's
and
not,
I know I've ranted.
So
he just doesn't have a supporting cast. Listen, I'll add on what Clay said. He doesn't have much help. I think next year they're going to help him out in the offseason. They're going to add a receiver. Hopefully they add some help up front. You get Quan Barkley coming back next year, and that's your Daniel Jones test. If he can't succeed with that, then that's it. You move on, you draft a quarterback, and you do this whole process again. But I think Daniel Jones has all the talent in the world. When he can maneuver and move out of the pocket, he's so good. It's not only on read options. When he could when the pass fails, he can take off. And that's where he's had some of his best runs. So he needs to be able to have his legs. And he's just not healthy right now. Quarterbacks aren't always healthy. It's not like he's just going to be not healthy his entire career. He can stay healthy. And when he's healthy, I expect him to be productive. He usually throws the ball with absurd accuracy. His decision-making is something that hopefully can be worked on, because some of the throws he has result in awful interceptions. I expect that to be I hope for next season that's fixed. And that's where, if it's not, then you move on from Jones. But that's the first point. And Jeremy, you talked about how they gave up 2 95-yard drives. And that is the offense's fault. The offense goes 3 and out, and all of a sudden you wore the defense out by the second half.
Exactly.
That's the problem. The defense can only play good football for a certain amount of time. They were completely worn out by the second half. All of a sudden, just these long drives just were it was bound to happen at that point. It really was. And yes, third of all, your point, Evan Ingram, a Pro Bowler, no idea how it happened.
I think going. I agree with Ethan's point. I think it's just that Kareem Hunt and who's the other running back for
Nick Chubb? These guys run it down your throat, and there's nothing you do about it.
And I think what they did this week, I think they watched a lot of game film and they emphasized on that. They emphasized the running attack, because J.K. Dobbins is literally going to come for their throats.
That's all the Ravens do, pretty much.
You know what I mean?
All they do.
75% of the time.
So they're going to come for their throats. So it's going to be a defensive scheme that's going to try and stop that.
The Giants need to take the ball away 2 to 3 times this week to win this game. They need takeaways, especially when the Ravens.
Lamar's not the greatest thrower. Let me put that out there. Lamar's not the most accurate thrower in the world.
They can't take the ball away. And listen, he does fumble. It's not like last year when he fumbled 1 time. This guy loses the football. He's come back to earth as not only just this guy who runs the ball and can take any hit anymore. The Giants have guys, really strong linebackers who force fumbles, recover fumbles. They need to be able to take the ball away at least 2 times to win this football game, and that's where I stand defensively.
I think they could do it. I think they can. I think if they just, as I said earlier, if you can get a QB spy on Lamar Jackson and you can contain him in some way, I think he gets trigger happy and he throws the ball. Mm-hmm. He's not. I don't know if he's the most accurate passer. No, he's the most smart, but
hopefully Bradbury could do something about it. I want Bradbury on Marquise Brown for sure.
And Marquise Brown struggles catching the ball. Period. Bradbury, yeah. I don't see him having much success.
I think the Giants defense, if the offense, okay, usually I'm for deferring to start a game if you win the toss to kick off. But if the Giants can get the ball first, and if they score and go up 7-0 somehow to right away, I really like how you gain
that confidence, right? Especially for Daniel Jones, who's been out. I agree with that. They should go for it. Yeah.
They should go for it, but they shouldn't do that garbage special team fake. That's where I was at.
This is my okay. And which is crazy because in week 5, they faked the field goal against Dallas that was called back because of an illegal shift, but it didn't have an impact on the play. They ran a great fake field goal to Evan Ingram. It was really well executed, aside from the penalty, obviously. But then you made that fake field goal. The fake field goal against the Browns was ridiculous. I don't know what they were doing.
It just didn't make sense. That's what it was weird. It just didn't make sense.
And Graham Gano was wide open, and they missed him.
Anyway, So at the end of the day, we're kind of all standing on the same page for the Giants. They need to be able to turn the ball over. Their offense needs to stay on the field and not just go 3 and out every time. Even if you're not going to score, you have to take some time off the clock, give some rest for the defense, because multiple 3 and outs are just going to cause 90-yard drives, and all of a sudden that's an 8-minute drive, and the quarter's halfway over and the game's halfway over.
Yeah.
You think they win?
No.
No. But
I also
if
do
they
not
execute what we said, if the Giants execute what we said, they'll win.
Look, Clay, this is what happens with me. I'll be like, the Giants are gonna they're gonna
as soon as they
lose. It's gonna be frustrating. Then the ball gets kicked off, and all of a sudden, I think they're gonna win.
The
ball gets kicked off.
That's being a fan.
When they
That's
kick off
being a
the ball,
hard fan
I'm all of a sudden invested, and I think I'm coming up with these scenarios in my mind.
I'm in this zone.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when Twitter comes into play, and you start emptying your thoughts on Twitter.
It's like, oh my God.
Yeah.
It's the Messiah, Daniel Jones.
They're gonna win. They're gonna win, and as long as they execute this, all right.
You should have seen You should have seen me and my roommate and I. My roommate and I, Max Finkelstein. We're both huge Giants fans, right? After Daniel Jones's majestic debut against Tampa, the Buccaneers, I was on campus. I was going. That was
they won by the missed field goal.
Oh, you guys!
They shouldn't have won. They shouldn't have won at all. The defense blew that game completely.
So funny.
My roommates are not really into sports, so when it's Sunday, it's a game over.
It's go time.
I'm going crazy. Every game I go crazy for.
Oh, absolutely.
No,
There's
you got
only
it.
17 of them. There's only 17
you
fun
got
Sundays
it.
like that.
16.
You make the most
totally.
of it. All right. So let's talk about,
games.
since we're running a little bit low on time, let's talk about one game. And the game I want to talk about is the Titans versus the Packers. Sunday Night Football. This is a huge test for both these teams because these teams are both going to be playoff bound. Green Bay is still fighting to play the playoffs through the NFC playoffs through Lambeau, and that's huge for them. Who wins this game? I'll go to Jeremy first.
So I have I have Green Bay. I forgot to mention this. I'm starting Lamar Jackson. I'm still starting him against you in fantasy in the finals this week. I'm playing Ethan in the finals, Clay, if you didn't know, in our fantasy week.
Very nice.
And I also have Aaron Jones against Ethan in fantasy.
Oh.
Why have we never brought that up, that we were playing each other in the fantasy?
Yeah, I know.
So
but so I have
just be
Green
top
Bay.
of the hour.
I'm hoping that Aaron Jones runs the ball down that Tennessee defense's throat. I think at the end of the day, Tennessee can definitely keep up. Ryan Tannehill has definitely impressed me. However, I think Green Bay's experience is going to overwhelm Tennessee's offense and defense.
I agree with you, Jeremy. I think Green Bay wins this game, and I think that if the Titans don't win, it's almost like them staying from an average team to an elite team. If you can beat Green Bay, I don't know if they can do it. I don't know if they can. I mean, they're probably going to play the Steelers in the playoffs, but I don't have any hope for them, to be honest.
The thing that does scare me is, and this is the biggest test of the game for me for the Green Bay Packers. I think they'll win, but how do they deal with Derrick Henry in the running game? Because this defense has been tested. It has not been tested too much this season running wise. They're going to face a real running back that is going to have a huge impact on the game, as he does every single time. How do they deal with that? Because we know their offense. We know Rodgers and Adams and Jones, and these guys with company drive down the field almost every single time they touch the football. But how is this defense going to respond? Are they going to get worn out? That's what I'm looking for. I think the Packers win this game, but it wouldn't shock me to see Derrick Henry take this game over and the Titans win. And then that would bring fear for me for the Green Bay Packers.
Is A.J. Brown playing?
He's not.
He's not playing. That's tough. That's tough. Because honestly, if he was playing, I think they could probably close. They
punch it out. It's not like these teams are so far apart. These teams have a chance to meet in February. It's not out of the picture to say that.
I think Green Bay, but honestly, overall, I think Green Bay is very overrated. I think they are extremely, extremely.
Well, speaking of Green Bay, let's move into our debate. So on Under Review, we put one topic under review and we debate it. Usually it's just
topic, I'm assuming.
Sorry?
This is our conclusion topic, I'm
This
assuming.
will be our conclusion topic. We've been running for almost an hour. So Clay, this is This is the little rundown. We put a topic under review and you either accept the play on the field or you reject it and we debate. Usually it's just me and Jeremy. So now we got three people going at it. So the topic is there a team that can beat the Chiefs? So the way this worked out, Jeremy had picked a team, Clay picked a team, and I'll defend the Chiefs. So we'll kind of just go at it. I guess the three of us. going at it. But so I'll start with the opening statement. Is there a team that can beat the Chiefs? And I think there isn't. I realistically think there isn't. How can you beat the Chiefs? It's keeping up with them offensively. Me and Jeremy were able to talk with Bruce Murray last week of SiriusXM, and he was explaining that the old rule of defense wins championships is out of the door. It's not there anymore. If you don't have a good quarterback and a good offense, you can't win championships. Sorry?
And a left tackle and an edge rusher.
That as well. I think the Chiefs have that. Their offense is the best in football. I don't think the only way to beat the Chiefs is beating them in a shootout. I think a team would need to put up 40 to 50 points to beat the Chiefs in a playoff game. I don't think there's one team in the postseason that can do that.
I'm going to disagree. Matt Cain, if you're listening to this, you're going to be happy with me. I got to go Green Bay here. I think they can definitely beat the Chiefs, excuse me. Look at the way their offense runs, all right? Aaron Rodgers, he's like 37 years old. I understand that. But the way he communicates with his team, the way he just manages a game, I think we don't see that anymore. He can make any throw whenever he needs to do it. He can scramble whenever he needs to. He's got elite receivers in Devontae Adams. And Robert Tonyan's had a great year at tight end. I think he should have made the Pro Bowl over Evan Ingram. Aaron Jones is a Pro Bowl running back. Jamal Williams is a good backup. And then on the defensive side, you have the Darius and Preston Smith, Jair Alexander, Kenny Clark. You got so many good pieces on that team that do know how to play football at an elite level. So why not them? Tell me that.
Jeremy, don't get me wrong. I think that's a team that definitely can beat the Chiefs. But
so you just had them right.
No. Listen.
It's over. The show is over.
Listen to where I'm coming. I'm saying that they can, but they won't, because everything you said, the Chiefs top. Mahomes can do everything a whole lot better than Rodgers right now. He can throw the ball farther. He can move way far out of the pocket.
Let Clay put in his team.
Okay, go. I got you. I'm going to pick Seattle. I really like Seattle.
Pick.
Listen, Russell Wilson, he's kind of struggled in the later part of the season, but he was up for MVP candidate early on, right? And the running game's coming back. I think Rawls is coming back soon, right? I think
Rashad Penny. It's
Rashad Penny. Rashad Penny's coming back.
Thomas Rawls. It's hilarious.
DK Metcalf is the most athletic football player in the league, and they can. And like Ethan said, they can keep teams close. They did it with Arizona. They could do it with anybody, and I think they can keep it with the Chiefs if they can contain Patrick Mahomes.
See, I think that Seattle, I don't think their offense can keep up. Because if you're looking at a team that could beat the Chiefs, first of all, they would have to get through the NFC with winning 3 straight games or 2, whatever path they end up choosing. The Seattle would have to probably end up winning 2. And can you just keep up? I don't think so, because Jeremy was saying, listen, Rodgers can move in and out of the pocket. He can do this. He can do that. Mahomes does that better. Their offense, Hill, Robinson, the best tight end in football, Kelsey, Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. They have a running game. It's not like their running game is completely abandoned. Hardman is a very underrated receiver. Very underrated.
Look at his stats on the season. I think 3 catches is the most he's had in the game this season.
Yeah, and they've been for a touchdown and 75 yards.
Oh my God. No.
Yes. He's got a bunch of touchdowns.
He had 3 catches for 22 yards and a touchdown last week.
Okay, well, look at the whole season. It's not like this guy catches.
You argue with Clay. I'll get back to you on that.
What I was going to say though, Ethan, who started that trend though? Russell Wilson.
Wilson
started that.
And Wilson's been there, done that. Wilson's been there, done that. Mahomes is now mastering it.
No, he's not done though. He's not done. I don't think he is. I think he's clutch. I think he is. I think he can. Right. I think he can win close.
Wilson is one of my favorite quarterbacks in the league. I think he's top 3. But Mahomes is my number 1. And what Mahomes did last year, he faced adversity at every single level. He was down double digits in all 3 of his playoff games last year, and he came back with ease. Some of those games he ended with blowout wins. This guy takes over the competitive game so quickly. When you blink your eye, you're down. You're up 24-0 against the Chiefs, or 21-0. All of a sudden, you blink your eye, you're down 24-21, like what happened against the Titans or the Texans, excuse me. He is so good.
Didn't Mahomes almost lose to the Dolphins?
Who?
Didn't Mahomes almost lose to the Dolphins?
That's the thing. They even lost the turnover battle 4-1 because Mahomes wasn't on his game, and they pretty much they won by almost double digits. Still, that's what scares me. No matter how good that defense played against Mahomes, they literally picked him off 3 times, and they forced a fumble against someone else I forget who else fumbled. I think it was Hill. Still, this team won by a large margin.
I'm gonna. I hate to have the buzzkill here. I think there are teams that can potentially beat the Chiefs because they have lost the game this season. They lost to Las Vegas, but
Division
are,
matchup.
are the Chiefs the better team? Yeah.
Yeah, of
But
course.
are teams capable of beating them in the playoffs? Yes. So
Well,
I
of
hate
course
to put a
teams are
buzzkill to the
capable of
I don't
beating
think anyone
Chiefs.
in
I don't think
the
anyone will though.
in the
AFC. Yeah,
in the AFC,
in the
no.
AFC, no.
Buffalo,
I
like,
think
give
Buffalo
me
is
a
the best
break.
chance to meet in the they'll
Okay.
probably meet in the AFC
Look
Championship.
who they
And
played.
that was the team I was going to argue if someone picked.
They're gonna kill Buffalo.
I was talking to our boy Dean Fence the other day. I'm like, yeah, Buffalo looks really good, but they played a really depleted Steelers team and they destroyed a Broncos team. That's
Yeah,
really
exactly. It's nothing.
They're
It's nothing.
still-
And you see all these people. This is what pisses me off. You see all these people on Twitter, right? And they're like, "Oh my God, the Buffalo Bills have won the AFC East for the first time since 1995." Relax. Kansas City is way better. They have so many more pieces.
They've played.
Calm down.
They've beaten the 5-win Chargers. They've beaten the 5-win 49ers. They've beaten the Steelers, who are the Steelers right now, obviously, and they've beaten the 5-win Broncos.
And who's in the AFC East? Nobody.
They beat the
The
Jets,
the Dolphins, and the
twice.
Patriots. They're all terrible.
The Dolphins.
Well,
are
the
terrible.
Dolphins are getting there.
I guess so, but like,
They're getting there.
They
But I
lost-
still
they
think
they got blown. They got destroyed by Tennessee. They got beaten by.
destroyed.
They only lost by 9 to the Chiefs. To be fair, they beat Seattle, which was impressive, and they lost in the Hail Mary to Arizona. If it wasn't for the Hail Mary to Arizona, they'd be on an 8-game win streak.
Listen, this team is. I think they're underrated.
They're good. They're
if someone
good.
Else,
I think they're
if the one of the three of you picked the Chiefs for this argument, I either would have went Buffalo or Tennessee because of their offenses. I think both their offenses are very good. Stephon Diggs has emerged into a top 5 receiver. I think there's no question. Cole Beasley has been insane, so underrated. John Brown is making his return into the lineup. He'll be looming around during playoff time. They got a good backfield in Singletary and Moss. Josh Allen is up for MVP considerations this year. There's no reason, and their defense, we all know what their defense is. Jordan Poyer, Latavius White, all these guys. They're not this. It's not that bad of a team. This team, I wouldn't be surprised if
it's a bad team
against Kansas City.
We're just saying Kansas. Okay, well, at the same time, I don't know. I think
personally, right now,
to be fair, we always throw away the schedule card with so many. We always use the schedule card with so many teams in this league. Whenever they beat a bad team, we always just undervalue it.
I hate those arguments. I really hate those arguments.
I hate the arguments too.
Because winning on Sunday is something so hard to do, no matter the game you're playing.
Yeah.
Not against the Rams, no matter. They lost against the Jets because I'm sure they weren't as prepared as they should have been.
Yeah, I was listening to Steven Stefanski, the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, and he was saying and he was saying that like every week is tough. Every single week is tough.
No
so you can't make that
week
argument.
in the NFL.
You really can't. Yeah. But like going back to your point, I think Seattle maybe. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough, but I think Russell Wilson is clutch enough, and I think that he can pull it through, and I think the defense can somehow contain them. And honestly, like if they can contain Patrick Mahomes, I don't think Le'Veon Bell's that great, to be honest. If they can shift the focus to Le'Veon Bell in the rushing game, then I think they can win. I think they can pull it off.
My non-biased Super Bowl prediction at the beginning of the year was Kansas City, Seattle. So maybe we'll be on the same page.
Yeah, maybe.
Jeremy, final statement on the argument.
Final statement. Look, Kansas City's definitely the number 1 team in the league. I'm not denying that. They have the most talent, but I still think that if they go when they make the Super Bowl, which I think it's inevitable, and they go up against a team like Green Bay or Seattle, they are in for they're going to be in trouble. Obviously, the 49ers gave them they almost should have won that game. Essentially, they pretty much really blew it in the Super Bowl, but they also had a bad offense. If they play a team that's remotely close to that defense with a high caliber offense, I think Kansas City's in for a world of trouble. But obviously, I think the Chiefs, you can never take them lightly. They're by far the best team in this league.
I think the Kansas City Chiefs will win the Super Bowl this year. That's my prediction. It's been my prediction all year. It'd be hard for me to see another team walk in, especially to Kansas City in the AFC, and beat them up. And then in the Super Bowl in Tampa Bay, I think that they would win this game. I think they would win the Super Bowl this year. I think they're the best team. I don't think there's any questioning that. I do like Seattle, Clay. I've talked about them numerous times on this show I even made a podcast over the summer saying I think they would win the Super Bowl. So I wouldn't be opposed to seeing them in the Super Bowl. I'll tell you that. But I do think the Kansas City
fun team to watch, yeah.
This year. Sorry, what'd you say?
They're a fun team to watch, Seattle.
Awesome
See
team.
Kansas City.
Electric. Yeah. They're electric. Both teams. That would be a very fun Super Bowl. But that's going to wrap up our discussion. It's been a huge episode. So much fun to do. First of all, thank you, Clayton Davis, for coming on.
Of course. Thank you guys for having me.
We're going to plug your podcast in to the link in description. Any other plugs you want?
Oh, yeah. So I do a podcast. It's called Energize. I do it with my roommate, Owen Romano. And it's not really sports oriented, but it's like more, I don't know. I just like interview like IC students and stuff. And like I don't know. It's just crazy and stupid. I don't know.
I've listened to it.
And
I've
just
listened
fun.
to it too. It's fun. It's fun.
It's just a fun podcast that I like doing.
Screaming and yelling, and it's
a lot
awesome.
of screaming and yelling. So if you liked me screaming and yelling here, you can see a lot more.
It'll be in the link and description. So the podcast link will be in link and description.
So many times people take these podcasts so seriously, and
exactly.
especially with Ethan and I, we just like to chill and have fun, just talk.
I think that's the
yell
idea.
At each other too sometimes.
Yeah. This is the last point. I remember like I was thinking about it like before I came on here. Like I remember like my freshman year, like I was so like into like stats and like just like trying to be like as professional as possible. Now I'm kind of like conversational, you know, and just it's like honestly, I see how this show and you guys do a great job. It's just two guys talking about sports, just kicking back and relaxing and having fun.
Yeah.
That's it.
That's all we do. We don't even make scripts half the time. Half of it we just go at it and we're just like, let's talk about this.
Exactly.
We prepare like things to talk about, but we don't script what we're gonna like.
There's never any scripting. There really is never.
No, there isn't. Yeah, you can't do it. Yeah,
that's the best part.
Totally.
Prep is definitely very important, but don't overdo it because then you're gonna sound like a robot.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what happened freshman year with me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Thank
you guys. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you guys having me on.
Of course,
thank you.
Clay.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Can't wait to see you on campus, man.
We'll have you on. We'll definitely have you on in the future as well, as we will be eventually transitioning to VIC radio. So once we get into the booth, which will be absolutely
hell yeah, so exciting.
We'll have a lot of fun. But thank you for all our listeners. Hope everyone had a wonderful holidays. Have a great week off from work and school and whatever you're doing right now. Enjoy the new year. And thank you for listening to Under Review. And we will catch you on episode number 18.
Bye, guys.